What if I told you that some of the most powerful natural medicines on the planet aren't plants, aren't roots, and aren't seeds? They're fungi growing on dead trees, hiding in birch forests, clinging to rocks at high altitude, and fruiting in places most people would never think to look. Mushrooms have been healing humans for thousands of years, not the kind you toss in a stir-fry, although some of those are on this list. Why I'm talking about medicinal mushrooms, with compounds so potent that pharmaceutical researchers are now racing to study them in clinical trials, trying to understand what traditional healers figured out centuries ago. Today, I'm going to walk you through 10 medicinal mushrooms that most people have completely forgotten about or never knew existed in the first place. And I've ranked them from impressive to absolutely mind-blowing. Stick around because number 4 on this list was found on a 5,300-year-old mummy preserved in the Alps, and scientists now believe he was carrying it as medicine. Number 7 was used in ancient Greece over 2,000 years ago and contains compounds that researchers are now testing against antibiotic-resistant superbugs. And number 10, the one I saved for last, has been called the mushroom of immortality for thousands of years, and the science behind that name is finally catching up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we post new videos every week that will save you money and empower you to take charge of your health. So, let's get into it. Here are 10 forgotten medicinal mushrooms that will heal you instantly, ranked from impressive to absolutely incredible. Number 1. Turkey tail. The immune system's best friend. We are starting with one of the most studied medicinal mushrooms in the entire world, and it's one that most people walk right past in the forest without a second glance. Turkey tail traits versor grows on dead and fallen hardwood trees across every continent except Antarctica. You've probably seen it, those thin fan-shaped brackets with concentric rings of color that look exactly like a wild turkey's tail fanned out. Beautiful to look at, easy to ignore. That would be a mistake. Bay turkey tail contains 2 polysaccharide compounds that have changed the way researchers think about mushrooms and immunity: PSK, polysaccharide K, and PSP, polysacchareptide. These aren't vague immune boosters. These are specific molecules that have been studied in human clinical trials, particularly in Japan and China, where PSK has been used as an approved adjunct therapy alongside conventional treatments for decades. What these compounds appear to do is modulate the immune system, not just crank it up blindly, but help it respond more effectively. Studies show increased activity of natural killer cells, improved TEC cell function, and enhanced cytokine production. Your immune system becomes smarter, not just louder. Here's what makes turkey tail special for everyday people. You don't need a prescription, you don't need a laboratory. You can harvest turkey tail from the woods, dry it, and brew it into a tea or grind it into powder. The taste is mild, slightly earthy, and pairs well with other teas. You can also find high-quality turkey tail supplements in capsule and powder form. Turkey tail got overlooked in the West because it doesn't look like medicine. It looks like a decoration on a dead log. But this humble bracket fungus is one of the most validated medicinal mushrooms in modern science. Think of it as your immune system's personal trainer, quietly working in the background, keeping everything sharp and ready. Number 2. TLA, the beauty mushroom that outperforms hyaluronic acid. This next one is going to surprise anyone who thinks mushrooms are just about immune support. TLA fusiformis, also called snow fungus or silver ear mushroom, has been used in Chinese medicine and cuisine for over 2,000 years. Chinese royalty, including Yang Gu, one of the 4 great beauties of ancient China, reportedly credited her radiant skin to Triella. And here's where it gets interesting. TLA produces polysaccharides that can hold nearly 500 times their weight in water. For comparison, hyaluronic acid, the gold standard in skincare, holds about 1,000 times its weight. But TLA's molecules are smaller, which means they penetrate skin tissue more effectively when applied topically or consumed. Studies have shown that TLA extracts support skin hydration, improve moisture retention, and exhibit antioxidant activity that helps protect against the oxidative stress that accelerates skin aging. But Trilla isn't just a vanity mushroom. Those same polysaccharides demonstrate immune modulating and anti-inflammatory effects. Traditional Chinese medicine used it for lung health, dry coughs, and overall vitality, particularly in elderly patients. Trilla grows on hardwood branches in tropical and subtropical climates. It's that translucent, jelly-like ball-ruffled mushroom you might have seen at Asian grocery stores. You can cook it into soups and desserts or take it as a powder or capsule. For anyone spending hundreds of dollars on hyaluronic acid serums, Trella offers a natural alternative that works from the inside out. It's the ancient beauty secret that modern skincare is only now beginning to understand. At number 3, may I take the dancing mushroom that tames blood sugar. Legend has it that when Japanese foragers found meitei growing wild in the mountains, they danced with joy because the mushroom was that valuable. That's how graph got its name. Meitok literally means dancing mushroom, and once you understand what this fungus can do, you'll understand the excitement. Emei contains a unique beta-glucan fraction called D fraction and MD fraction that have been studied extensively for immune activation and perhaps more importantly for modern health, blood sugar regulation. In animal studies and preliminary human research, meitei extracts that have shown the ability to improve insulin sensitivity and help lower blood glucose levels. For the millions of people dealing with metabolic syndrome and blood sugar issues, that's not a minor finding, that's potentially life-changing. But the benefits don't stop at blood sugar. Meit's beta-glucans are potent immune modulators. Research has demonstrated enhanced activity of macrophages, T cells, and natural killer cells. Some studies have explored meit's potential alongside conventional treatments with promising early results showing improved immune markers. Here's what makes meit accessible. It's a gourmet mushroom, it's delicious. You can buy it fresh at many grocery stores, saute it in butter, add it to soups, or roast it until the edges get crispy. You're eating a meal that's simultaneously activating your immune system and helping regulate your blood sugar. Mei also grows wild at the base of oak trees and temperate forests, and it can be cultivated at home with grow kits. For people who want their medicine to taste like dinner, meitei is the answer. It's the mushroom that made foragers dance, and once you start eating it regularly, you'll understand why. Myth number 4. Birch polyore, the Iceman's medicine cabinet. This is the one I teased at the beginning. In 1991, hikers in the Italian Alps discovered a naturally mummified man frozen in ice for 5,300 years. They named him Uzi, and when scientists examined what he was carrying, they found something remarkable. 2 different species of mushroom, one of which was birch polyore, Fomatopsis bitina. He wasn't carrying it for food, he was carrying it threaded on a leather string, and scientists believe it was his medicine kit. Modern research has validated what Uzi apparently already knew. Birch polyore contains compounds with demonstrated antibacterial, antiparasitic, and anti-inflammatory properties. Studies have identified betulinic acid and azathioprine in the fungus that show activity against intestinal parasites, which is particularly interesting because Uzi was found to have a whipworm infection. He was quite possibly self-medicating with the exact right mushroom. Birch polyore also contains compounds with wound-healing properties. Traditional uses across Northern Europe included slicing the mushroom into strips and using them as wound dressings, essentially natural bandages with built-in antimicrobial activity. The mushroom grows exclusively on birch trees across northern temperate forests. It's a bracket fungus, smooth and brown on top, white underneath, and relatively easy to identify. You can dry it and brew it as tea, make a tincture, or use thin slices as traditional wound strips. Birch polyore got forgotten because modern medicine gave us synthetic antibiotics and adhesive bandages, but a 5,300-year-old man in the Alps knew something we're only now rediscovering. Think of it as the original first aid kit, field-tested by humanity for at least 5 millennia and probably much longer. Number 5. Cordyceps. The mushroom that hijacks insects and supercharges your lungs. If mushrooms had a horror movie villain, it would be cordyceps. In the wild, Ophiocordyceps sinensis infects insects, takes over their bodies, and eventually sprouts a fruiting body from their heads. It's the real-life inspiration behind The Last of Us. But here's the twist. This terrifying parasitic fungus has been one of the most prized medicines in Tibetan and Chinese traditional healing for over 1,000 years. Cordyceps contains a compound called cordycepin, a nucleotide analog that has been studied for its effects on cellular energy production, oxygen utilization, and endurance. In human studies, cordyceps supplementation has been associated with improved V2 max, meaning your body uses oxygen more efficiently during exercise. For athletes, that's performance. For older adults, that's the difference between getting winded climbing stairs and walking up them comfortably. The traditional use was even more dramatic. Tibetan yak herders first noticed that their animals became more energetic and vigorous after grazing in meadows where cordyceps grew. They started using it themselves for altitude sickness, fatigue and respiratory weakness. Wild cordyceps from the Tibetan plateau is extraordinarily expensive. I'm sometimes selling for more than its weight in gold. But here's the good news. Cultivated Cordyceps militaris, a related species, produces the same key compounds and is widely available as a supplement at a fraction of the cost. You can take it as a powder in your morning coffee, as a capsule or as an extract. Many people report noticeably improved energy and exercise capacity within a few weeks. Cordyceps got sidelined in Western culture because the idea of a parasitic insect fungus doesn't exactly scream wellness. But if you can get past the origin story, this is one of the most potent natural energy and lung support compounds available. It's the mushroom that literally takes over other organisms to survive. And when you consume it, it helps your body perform like it's decades younger. Oh, number 6. Chaga, the antioxidant king growing on birch trees. If you've ever walked through a birch forest and noticed a dark, burnt-looking mass clinging to a tree trunk, you were probably looking at chaga. And you were looking at one of the most antioxidant-dense substances ever measured in nature. Inonotis obliquekis, commonly called chaga, has been used in Russian, Siberian and Northern European folk medicine for centuries. In Siberia, they called it a gift from God, or Russian Nobel laureate Alexander Solzhenitsyn even referenced chaga's medicinal reputation in his writing. The numbers are staggering. Chaga has one of the highest ORAC scores, oxygen radical absorbance capacity, of any natural food or supplement. It's loaded with superoxide dismutase, one of the body's most important endogenous antioxidant enzymes, along with melanin, betulinic acid from the birch bark it feeds on, and a complex of polysaccharides with immune-modulating properties. And in laboratory and animal studies, chaga extracts have demonstrated anti-inflammatory, immune-stimulating and even anti-tumor activity. Human clinical research is still catching up, but the preliminary evidence combined with centuries of traditional use creates a compelling picture. What makes chaga particularly interesting is the way it concentrates the medicinal compounds of the birch tree itself. Betulinic acid, which comes from birch bark, that is concentrated in chaga to levels far higher than in the bark alone. The fungus essentially acts as a living extraction machine, pulling compounds from the tree and concentrating them. Traditionally, chaga is prepared as a tea or decoction. You break off chunks, simmer them for hours, and drink the dark, slightly vanilla-flavored liquid. Modern preparations include powdered extracts and tinctures. Chaga grows slowly and should be harvested sustainably. I always leave enough on the tree for the organism to survive. Chaga got forgotten in the West because it looks like a disease, not a medicine. It's black, crusty, and grows on trees. But in Siberian villages, chaga tea was the daily health drink long before green smoothies were invented. Think of it as the ugliest, most powerful antioxidant bomb in the forest, waiting on a birch tree for someone who knows what they're looking at. Line number 7. Agarikon. The ancient Greek antimicrobial that fights superbugs. Now we're getting into truly extraordinary territory. Agarikon fomatopsis is a mushroom that the ancient Greek physician Dioscorides wrote about over 2000 years ago, calling it the elixir of long life. For centuries it was one of the most important medicinal substances in Europe. Then it was almost completely forgotten, and now modern researchers are discovering why the ancients valued it so highly. DAP, agarikon, contains a suite of compounds including cumins, chlorinated coumarins and other secondary metabolites that have shown remarkable antimicrobial activity in laboratory testing. Mycologist Paul Stamets, one of the world's leading mushroom researchers, has worked with the US Department of Defense's BioShield program, testing agarikon extracts against some of the most dangerous pathogens known, including potential bioweapon agents. The results showed strong antiviral and antibacterial activity. Here's what makes this particularly relevant today. Antibiotic resistance is one of the biggest threats facing modern medicine. We're running out of effective antibiotics. And agarikon, this ancient, nearly forgotten mushroom, contains compounds that work through mechanisms different from conventional antibiotics, meaning resistant bacteria haven't had a chance to develop defenses against them. Agarikon grows as a large beehive-shaped bracket on the old-growth conifers, primarily in the Pacific Northwest of North America and parts of Europe. It's extremely rare and slow-growing. Some specimens are estimated to be over 75 years old. Because of its rarity, wild harvesting isn't sustainable. Cultivation efforts are underway and standardized extracts are becoming available. This isn't a mushroom you'll find at the health food store yet, but it's one to watch closely. Agarikon got forgotten because the old-growth forests it depends on were logged and because modern antibiotics seem to make it unnecessary. Now that those antibiotics are failing, we are circling back to a mushroom the Dioscorides told us about 2000 years ago. It's the ancient Greek prescription that might end up saving modern medicine. Number 8. Mashima, the research darling you've never heard of. If you've never heard of Mashima, don't feel bad. Almost nobody outside of East Asian traditional medicine and a small circle of mycological researchers knows this mushroom exists. But Felinus lentus, named Mashima by the Japanese after the island where it was originally harvested, is one of the most intensively studied medicinal mushrooms in cancer research. In laboratory and animal studies, Mashima extracts have demonstrated some of the strongest immune-activating and anti-tumor effects of any mushroom tested. Research has shown enhanced activation of immune cells, direct anti-proliferative effects on various cell lines, and the ability to modulate inflammatory pathways that are implicated in tumor growth. The body of published research on Mashima is substantial and growing, particularly out of South Korea and Japan. What makes Mashima stand out from other medicinal mushrooms is the specificity of its immune activation. It doesn't just broadly boost immune function, and as studies suggest, it helps activate the specific immune pathways most relevant to surveillance and response against abnormal cell growth. Traditional Korean medicine used Mashima for a range of conditions, from digestive issues to hemorrhage, but its modern reputation is built almost entirely on its immune and cellular research profile. Mashima is a slow-growing bracket fungus found on mulberry trees in East Asia. Wild specimens are extremely rare, which is part of why it remained obscure for so long. Cultivated extracts are now available, though they're not as widely distributed as turkey tail or reishi. For anyone tracking the cutting edge of medicinal mushroom research, Mashima is one of the most compelling stories in the field. It's the mushroom that flew under the radar for centuries, and researchers are now calling it one of the most promising natural compounds they have ever studied. All number 9. Lion's mane, the mushroom that regrows your brain. I almost put this one at number 10 because the science behind it is that extraordinary. Lion's mane, Heritium aroneus, is a shaggy white mushroom that looks like a cascading waterfall of icicles growing from the side of a hardwood tree. It's bizarre looking, it's delicious, and it might be the most important natural compound ever discovered for brain health. Lion's mane contains two unique classes of compounds found in no other mushroom and no other known natural source, Herionones and arenosines. These compounds have been demonstrated in multiple studies to stimulate the production of nerve growth factor, or NGF. NGF is a protein that your brain needs to grow, maintain and repair neurons. It's essential for neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and adapt as you age. NGF production declines, and this decline is associated with cognitive impairment, memory loss and neurodegenerative conditions. In a landmark human clinical trial, older adults with mild cognitive impairment who took lion's mane extract for 16 weeks showed significant improvements in the cognitive function compared to the placebo group. When they stopped taking it, the improvements began to reverse. The mushroom wasn't masking symptoms, it was supporting the actual biological machinery of brain repair. It's beyond cognitive function. Lion's mane has shown promise for nerve regeneration in peripheral injuries, mood support through effects on the hippocampus, and gut health through its anti-inflammatory effects on digestive tissue. The nerve-gut connection here is real. Your gut contains its own nervous system, the enteric nervous system, and lion's mane supports both. Lion's mane grows wild on hardwood trees and can be cultivated at home with grow kits. It's a gourmet mushroom with a flavor and texture often compared to lobster or crab when sautéed in butter. You can eat it as food, take it as a powder or capsule, or prepare it as a tincture. Lion's mane got overlooked because its benefits, brain health and nerve regeneration, aren't visible the way a healed wound or cleared infection is. You can't see neurons growing, but the research is now overwhelming. For anyone over 50 concerned about cognitive decline, or anyone at any age who wants their brain performing at its best, lion's mane belongs in your daily routine. It's the mushroom that doesn't just protect your brain, it helps rebuild it. Number 10. Rye, the mushroom of immortality. And here we are at number 10. The mushroom I save for last because it represents everything we've talked about today. Ganoderma lucidum reishi. Known in China as lingzhi, the mushroom of immortality. Known in Japan as the 10,000-year mushroom, where for over 2,000 years, rye has been considered the single most important substance in traditional Chinese medicine's entire pharmacopoeia. Emperors sent expeditions to find it, artists painted it into images of paradise. It was worth more than gold. And unlike so many traditional claims that wilt under scientific scrutiny, Ray's reputation has only grown stronger as researchers have studied it. The mushroom contains over 400 bioactive compounds, including trigerines called ganaderic acids, beta-glucan polysaccharides and unique proteins. The breadth of studied effects is staggering. Immune modulation, anti-inflammatory activity, liver protection, cardiovascular support, blood sugar regulation, anti-allergic effects, sleep improvement, and stress adaptation. In human clinical trials, reishi supplementation has been associated with improved immune function, reduced fatigue, improved sleep quality, and better overall quality of life metrics. The triders specifically have shown anti-inflammatory and liver protective effects. The polysaccharides activate multiple immune pathways simultaneously. But here's what truly sets Ray apart from every other mushroom on this list. Ray is an adaptogen in the deepest sense of the word. It doesn't push your body in one direction, it helps your body find balance. Immune system overactive, Ray helps calm it down. Immune system sluggish, Ray helps wake it up. Always stressed and unable to sleep, Ray promotes calm. Fatigued and run down, Ray supports energy recovery. This bidirectional intelligence is what made ancient practitioners call it the mushroom of immortality, not because it literally makes you immortal, but because it supports the body's own capacity to heal, adapt and maintain itself in the face of whatever life throws at it. Reishi grows wild on hardwood trees and temperate forests around the world, but wild specimens are rare. Fortunately, it's one of the most widely cultivated medicinal mushrooms, and high-quality extracts are readily available. The mushroom itself is woody and bitter, not something you eat like a portobello. It's traditionally prepared as a tea, simmered for hours, or taken as a concentrated extract in powder or capsule form. The bitterness, by the way, comes from those ganoderic acid triteins. If your rye doesn't taste bitter, it probably doesn't contain meaningful levels of the most important compounds. Rye didn't get forgotten. It's been revered continuously in East Asia for millennia, but it was ignored by Western medicine, dismissed as false belief, until researchers finally started testing it and discovered that the ancients weren't exaggerating, they were understating the case. Think of rye as the master conductor of an orchestra. It doesn't play any single instrument louder than the others, it makes the entire orchestra perform in harmony. And that harmony, that balance, yes, is what keeps your body resilient, adaptable and alive for the long haul. If you made it this far, you now understand something that most people, even most health-conscious people, don't. The fungal kingdom isn't just decomposing dead trees in the forest, it's producing some of the most powerful medicinal compounds ever discovered. Compounds that modulate your immune system, regenerate your neurons, fight antibiotic-resistant bacteria, and help your body maintain balance against the relentless forces of aging and disease. The approach is simple. Start layering these mushrooms into your daily life. Lion's mane in your morning coffee, chaga tea in the afternoon, ray extract before bed, turkey tail and mayach in your cooking. None of this requires a complete overhaul of your life. It requires awareness, the awareness you now have, and the daily habit of giving your body the fungal intelligence it's been waiting for. If this changed the way you think about what's growing in the forest and what belongs in your medicine cabinet, hit that like button and subscribe. Every week we go this deep on the plants, fungi and strategies that make a real difference for people who are serious about living well for as long as possible. Drop a comment below which mushroom on this list are you most excited to start using. Are you team brain health with lion's mane, team immune power with turkey tail, or team longevity with reishi? I read every single comment.